Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Now, 2 years ago, the carers were added to the shortage occupation list in the UK. However, things have changed in the past 2 years, and I know many of y'all out there on my Instagram and YouTube have been asking me about the carer visa and is it a good visa for you to apply. So, today's video is going to share the harsh truth of the care worker visa. And if you are interested in it, do not forget to watch it all the way to the end. But for those of you who are coming in the September intake in the UK or in the Jan intake in UK and are still looking for accommodation, please do not forget to check out Amber Students because they have accommodation in over 200 cities and have about 1 million rooms all over the world. So if you are looking for accommodation close to your university or even within the vicinity in the cities that you're going to be living in the next year or in the next intake, please do not forget to give a shout to Amber UK because they are right here trying to help you find your suitable accommodation so that you can live comfortably without any worries. And for those of you who haven't already followed me on Instagram, please do consider following me on Instagram. My handle is Physiotherapy in UK, where I share daily updates on all of the information related to life in the UK, getting a job as a healthcare professional, and also some important tips about maintaining your licensing to practice in the UK. So if you haven't already followed me, now's your chance to do so. But let's dive into today's content, which is about the carer visa. Let's talk about the carer visa. Who is applying for it? I think personally, I've heard so many people on Instagram talking about this to me. There are people from all over the world, whether they are doctors, physios, nurses, lawyers even, or even people without a degree who are applying for the carer visa. And why are they doing so? The reason for this is the carer visa is something that doesn't really require you to have a baseline qualification or a baseline requirement. For example, to be working as a physiotherapist, you need your HCPC license in the UK. However, to work as a carer, you don't really need that. So people from all over the world have been applying for this visa, even people who have minimal qualification levels. And to be fair, it has helped all of these people all over to come into the UK. And once people who are obviously more qualified, say for example, physios, doctors, nurses, occupational therapists, operation and department practitioners, so many other people will try and get their license to practice, which can be their GMC registration, their HCPC license to practice, and move to that job which will offer you a sponsorship to work within your specific role, which could be a physiotherapist role or any other role within the NHS. So obviously this was a great way for people to migrate into the UK and find a job within their own fields. However, the difficulty has come in now where the UK government has realized that there has been lots of immigration in the last few months and years, and they are trying to cut down the immigration. So the first thing they did was obviously target illegal immigrants. So they made their rules really strict, really hard for all of the illegal immigrants who are planning to come into the UK or who have come into the UK. The second thing they did was obviously that they started targeting legal migration. So now, when they were looking to reduce the legal migration into the UK, they introduced the 12-point plan, which is something that they have proposed by the Cabinet of Ministers right now. The first point on that was actually to reduce the carer visa. Let's read the first point together, guys. So as you can see, it says right there that the closing of the scheme, which temporarily grants eligibility for visa workers to work as care workers, which the report claims will reduce the visa numbers by 1,17,000. So the idea is that they will reduce or stop the carer visa specifically so that there are lesser carers who are planning to come into the UK. And now, again, your question is going to be, Nikita, why are they doing this? Why are they stopping the carer visa? The answer is because there are just too many of them. So earlier, over the years, obviously they decided that there were lesser number of carers in the UK and they wanted to increase that number. And so they were granting certificates of sponsorship to everybody who could come and live in the UK and work as a carer. However, over the last few months, they've realized that the number of carers are actually quite good. And you will say, Nikita, how do they know that? The answer is, if you take a look at this picture right here is one of my Instagram followers sending me a picture of how they have been scammed in the UK. So this was a person who spent all of their hard-earned money to get a certificate of sponsorship and come into the UK. And once they were in the UK, through the carer visa, this care home was not giving them shifts. Now what happened because of that is obviously this person doesn't have a job anymore, was not able to find ways to pay their bills, and obviously they are now concerned about whether they can survive in the UK. This is a very common situation which has not only affected this person, but it has affected so many people around the UK right now, especially people in England. So now, obviously, the next question you have is what really happens to these people then? What are they doing? So, like I said, this person obviously was not able to get enough shifts through the care home or the agency that brought them over to the UK. So, what they most likely tend to do is then start getting jobs where they are paid cash in hand. Now, obviously, these cash in hand jobs do not really pay you well. So, what happens is that you are migrating into the UK thinking that you will have better quality of life, but because your jobs are scams, you're not really attaining a valuable amount of money in your bank account, and then your quality of life drops because you're not able to afford rent, groceries, or any of the other feed or any of the other needs that you need to sustain a really good life over here. Now, the second thing that people do, which obviously they don't realize, is that when they come on these scam jobs and they do not get good jobs, obviously, or they're not getting enough shifts, they start doing jobs illegally. So they might even go and work illegally, or they might work for somebody under the table. Now, the idea with this, and this is something that I really discourage people from doing, is that even though you will do this right now, and it will help you earn money right now and sustain yourself, 5 years from now when you apply for your ILR, which is your PR in the UK, it creates a real problem, because that is the time the UK government is actually going to go through all of your records. They will check your bank statements, they will check your criminal record, they will check your past addresses for the last 5 years, they will check your salary statements and all of the organizations that you work with. And do you honestly think that all of this is going to be spot free? The idea is no, guys. The answer is no. All of that information is going to be tampered with if you are not legally working for a good employer, for a good organization where you're not receiving a good monthly salary. And that can be grounds for the UK government to not give you an ILR. And that really reduces your risk of getting a positive response when you have been working in the UK for the last 5 years. If you do not get your ILR, you will unfortunately not get citizenship. Now, again, coming down to another important question, which again was asked to me recently, saying, will there be a stop in this carer visa? Personally, there has been no comments about this on the UK government website right now. However, as I've explained to you before, that there are proposals of this reducing, and like I've explained in this video till now, that there is a reasonable answer for why they are planning to reduce this visa. So if you have any concerns about it, please watch this video again or leave a comment down. But another question that many of you will ask me is, Nikita, can I come on the carer visa and then flip my job over when I get my license to practice in the UK? And the answer is yes. If you come on your carer visa, which is a job as a carer, you can then switch over to another job in the UK based on whatever your profession is once you get your license to practice within that respective healthcare profession. However, remember, guys, even though this is a tier 2 visa, which is a carer visa, you will have to get a new tier 2 visa, a new skilled worker visa, or a health and care worker visa based on the new job that you get and the new certificate of sponsorship. So do not be under the assumption that whatever visa you have right now will then just get carry forwarded. No, you, every time that you get a new job, you will have to apply for a new visa, and that means that you will have to pay your immigration health surcharge or your visa application fees additionally for every new application that you make for yourself and for your dependents. So keep this in mind before you think about switching visas. So now let's come down to the most important part of this video, and that is the specific questions you want to ask your agency or your employer to identify that these are not scams. Now, many of y'all come to me on Instagram saying, Nikita, this is the certificate of sponsorship. What do you think? Does this look like a scam? And the answer is, I don't know. I mean, how would I know whether it's a scam? Because obviously, all of these sponsors, if you go on to the government of UK website, you will see their names on the certificate of sponsorship sponsor list. So you can see that yes, this is a true person issuing a certificate of sponsorship. However, when you come into the UK and if you land a job which is not giving you shifts, that's entirely a scam based on that particular employer, and I obviously can't comment on it. But what I would advise you is to ask a few questions before you accept the job offer. The first question that I want you to ask is, ask your employer or ask your agency whether you will be receiving a full-time work shift every single week. Now, full-time work shift in the UK, especially in healthcare, can be anything between 37.5 hours to up to 40 hours. So be straightforward, be honest, and be bold when you ask your employer or you ask your agency the question of, will I be offered every single week a minimum of 37.5 hours of shifts, because that will ensure that you have the money to pay the bills at the end of the month. The second question I want you to do is ask your employer for that contract of employment. Now, why is this important? The first thing that the employer will obviously promise you is your certificate of sponsorship, and now many of y'all I know from India who want to come and work in the UK will be ready to offer money for that certificate of sponsorship. However, what you don't realize is that you need to have a contract of employment. Now, this contract of employment will specifically state what is your salary or what is your wages on an annual basis in the UK. Make sure that your annual salary is at least the minimum amount that you need to survive in the UK. If it is below, guys, don't even think about disrupting your life from India and planning to come into the UK. Now, I know many people over here will say, Nikita, you're being really negative, you're being really bad by discouraging people from following their dreams. And the answer is, guys, I'm not trying to discourage you, I'm just trying to place the reality in front of you so that you do not get scammed out of the hard-earned money that you have in India or in Pakistan or Bangladesh or any other country that you're watching this video from. The third thing I want you to do, and this is essentially not a question for you to ask somebody, but something for you to do before you take up the job, is check out the LinkedIn profile for this particular company that is offering you sponsorship. They would have had any previous employees or current employees on their LinkedIn profile. And what I want you to do is reach out to them, check with them if the care home or the agency or the employer that they are working for is actually offering them good shifts on a weekly basis and is a trusted or a reputed care home within the UK. Now, obviously, there are n number of care homes, there are n number of agencies in the UK, but what you can do through this method is identify whether these employers are really trustworthy and if you can trust your future with them. So just to summarize this video really quickly, I want to end this video by saying care home visas are not bad. They're not the horrible thing. They're not the worst thing in the world. However, there are millions of scams going on around this in the UK, especially in England. So I want you guys to be mindful about it, especially if you are planning to come into the UK with this particular visa. On that note, if you think that this is going to help even a single person in your contact list today, please share this video with them because they need to know about this before they take up a care home job in the UK and come over here. But that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you found it useful, and if you did, do not forget to like, share and subscribe. Take care. Bye.